We have a tremendous lack of affordable housing for farm workers. And actually, I have seen, there was a property west of Sebastopol that I had this crazy dream of trying to get the open space district to help me pay the exorbitant sum of money that they wanted for it. And it was 80 acres, and there was only one house on it, and that was all that was ever going to be allowed on it. And that was kind of crazy to me, because I was thinking, this is fantastic agricultural land, and of course I'm sure someone swooped in and bought it and turned it into vineyard. And I had these visions of a food farm where you could have the community come out, and it wasn't very far outside of town. One house on 80 acres is a little bit crazy, because it's really hard to run 80 acres of farmland by yourself, and it does take more. And so I'm definitely open to this. I want to state that I am very passionate about protecting agricultural land, but I think that making this on a very, very case-by-case basis, really looking very carefully about creating possibly an overlay for this kind of thing is definitely something that we should look into. And I did get to sort of see that one instance where I couldn't believe that you could only have one house on 80 acres. And while it's great to preserve that open space, that actually makes it tremendously difficult to run a food farm. Because, if you're trying to feed the community, it's a 24/7 job. And if it's just that, those people living in that one smallish house, you don't have the opportunity for other employees to actually turn that land into productive agriculture. So then what happens, that tends to wind up, as we were discussing before, a McMansion, largely probably with vineyards that are, then managed by a separate vineyard management company. It's not even the people who are living on the property who are working that land. So I definitely see opportunities where we could create more intentional farming communities and farm worker communities. So.
Do you have a mechanism in your mind as to how that might work? Is this a case-by-case zoning variance in your mind, or do you see this as a zoning, built in, just a revision of the permitting and zoning of these areas?
That's a great question. I would see it as an overlay process. So sort of, there are these sort of different overlays that we have in Sonoma County. One of them is the Z overlay, which means that you can't have a second unit on the property. Usually it's because of lack of water and things like that. And I would basically advocate for going through the county and creating some kind of an affordable housing overlay. That would be prioritize areas where we might want to create more affordable housing, and then provide incentives for property owners or developers to sort of go after that. And I think that it could be, and I would again prefer to focus within the cities, so looking at redeveloping some of those maybe commercial or industrial zones, or areas that are currently within the city and that have not been developed for one reason or another. Maybe some of these outside of the box solutions where, if you're all these little tiny homes that aren't very expensive to build are different. That's not what the traditional developer would look at. And if you're trying to do this in a nonprofit way, you could do this for a lot less money than when people are sort of traditionally looking at that property and how to develop it. So.